maker. I reside in Atlanta. I am, if I had to make a choice between writing, directing, and producing, which I would probably never do, I would say my favorite is writing. I enjoy that medium better because it allows me to create the characters and be alone and not have to start this camera sliding and not have to, deal with a lot of people. So my least favorite is probably producing, although people tell me that that's my strong suit because I know what I want it to look like. I know what I want it to feel like. I know, pretty much anything. And maybe it's just because I'm a bit of a control freak. I'd like to think that I'm not, but maybe I am. So, I met Tommy about, gosh, what, 10 years ago, more, um, as part of the Charlotte Black Film Festival. And we've been, corresponding ever since. I guess I'll just open up the door to see what questions you may have, because I just don't know what else to. I don't really like talking about myself, so maybe if you ask me, I'll be more than happy to answer it for you.
Well, let me talk about what I know. Talk a little bit about the project that got an Oscar nod.
Oh, okay. So I collaborated with my nephew. His name is Chris Wilson, and that's so funny. We did a project called Mid City Blues, and they had like 1,000. I don't know internally how they choose and the whole process for choosing an Oscar, but it's a short. It's called Mid City Blue. And they started with 1,000, like over 1,000 people. They broke it down to 500, broke it down to 200, broke it down to 9, broke it down to 6, and we were semifinals in the for an Oscar. We didn't win, but we got a nod. So
that's major. Oscar nominated. That's good.
And I actually joined as a producer. My nephew graduated from USC, and he played pro ball for a while. So we basically, the two of us financed it, played pro ball for quite a while. Yeah, so that's what we did. And we went to different festivals before we were even considered as a contender for an Oscar. We tried to map out how we wanted our route for how we wanted to expose the film. And we decided that we would go to certain festivals. So I was like, well, I want to only go to festivals that are that give monetary prizes. And he was like, oh, Auntie, let's do this. So let's do, so we just kind of played around with it, and we ended up being in quite a few festivals and won quite a few festivals, and then heard about the Oscar nod when we won the Martha's Vineyard Black Film Festival, the HBO's choice for short film at Martha's Vineyard. So that's when we heard about the whole Oscar thing too.
Good, awesome. And so talk about some of the projects that I know you said Tyler Perry, a bunch of other folks you've written for. Let's talk about, we have a lot of folks here in the room who are starting out. I mean, some of them they write, but have not done anything in terms of production. Then we got some individuals who write, and they've done things which are on YouTube. But so what would you say to, of course, everybody has the ultimate goal of course, making it to a major streaming platform, theatrical distribution, or whatever it might be. What would you say as a writer? Let's start as a writer. What would you say some tips you would give these new writers in terms of their content? They're writing it. Once they've written it, what's next?
Well, I guess my thing is, I commend anyone in that room who has actually written anything, because I can't begin to tell you how many people that over the course of my life that I've had come up to me and say, "Oh, I got this great movie. I got this great movie. You got to, I don't know if I should tell you. I don't know if I should tell you. It's great. It's about, I don't know if I should tell you. And they give me like 2 sentences, and I say, I'm sorry, you have a movie or you have a script? And they go, no. I said, oh, you have an idea. So what you want to do, my thing is I'm about completion. And so what you should always do is you should complete that. And I tell you, I have so many pieces that may or may not ever meet the light of day. And they meant something to me when I wrote them. And it's so funny. I was sitting with my niece and kind of going through preparing for family to come for the holiday. And I was like she was like, good Lord, Auntie, look at all the movies you've done. Look at all the things you've done. And I forget all the time because you should hone your craft. You should always write. You should always write. You should always write. You should always write. Even spec scripts. I used to look at television shows and I'd be like, okay, I'd watch episodes 1 and 2, and then I would write how I, like introduce new characters or write how I would imagine it going or whatever, just in case, an opportunity presented itself to write. And Kelly, who used to she used to be the head writer at TPS way back in the day when he first started out with, and that's Tyler Perry's studio, when he first started out with House of Pain. And they were having lots of trouble over there with just the scripts. I mean, they were just kind of, people were like, oh, it's a mess. So they brought in a team of writers. And that's early on. I was one of those writers that they brought in, and we just polished it. We just polished the script, made some changes, did some things like that. And that's how, that's how I got in there. But so much has happened, as you all know, with Tyler Perry, everything that he's doing now is just unbelievable. He is unbelievable. It's really amazing. But so I just kind of bounced all over the place. But to answer your question, I say as a writer, write to complete, because nobody cares about your story. I can tell you every movie from and I won't say the movie, but that I laid in bed for 3 days when I realized it was stolen from me. And it's an excellent movie. The director did a great job. The 4 ladies in it did a great job that robbed the bank. That's all I'll say. And it was a beautiful movie. And I, let's just say my movie was very, very, very much like it. And then, I couldn't do the movie after that because it was gone. But I always say write, because you never know when opportunity and preparation will meet up. You'd hate to have an opportunity and not be prepared. So
yeah. So let's talk about some of the options for writers. Let's stay right there for minutes, because some folks, you got this completed project, and so you want to option that project, sell that project, or you want to take it into production, or you want to be a hired writer, like you mentioned earlier. Kind of 3 quick options. How would they approach any one of those? Because we have some writers in the room they got all these scripts, but never taken it into production.
Well, it all works. Like I've done all 3. I've been work for hire. I love that too, because you just come in, you write, and you give the product. They tell you what changes they want. You make them and you go. Then I like, as an independent filmmaker, I absolutely love writing my pieces and then trying to figure out how I'm going to get monies for it. Early on, when I was a car show model, and I would take all of my money and I would shoot my own productions, and I would hire all of the models and people that I worked with, that I toured with, because we toured around the world. And so I would be like, okay, I'm doing a movie. When we get back to Atlanta, or when we get to Detroit, I'm going to do this movie, and you're going to play this. And they study their scripts. We'd be on the road. They study them. And that's how I did my first movie. I literally bought my own camera. I took my and it wasn't the highest end camera, but it was decent enough. I bought a used camera, 2 used cameras from somebody. And then I had written the script. I hired all my friends who were, on the road with me to do to play the roles, and I shot it. Like, I literally shot it. I took my own money. I shot it. I did get a little bit of money. I went and had I had a friend that owned an electronics store in Detroit, and I was like, hey, can I do a screening? Let me just say this. I shot the teaser, and then I invited everybody that I knew. I invited every athlete, unfortunately, every drug dealer, everybody to come screen the thing, and everybody wanted to invest. But then I had a dilemma, because the athletes were like, oh, I don't want to invest with the drug dealers. And the drug dealers were like, oh, I don't get it. It was a mess. So I ended up only using my money and taking money from one other athlete at the time. But pretty much I financed it pretty much myself. I will say that. And I always tell people, if you don't believe in you can't expect people to invest in you if you don't invest in yourself. So I took that movie, I submitted it to, I met a guy who was from Detroit. He lived in LA. I was living in LA at the time. And I said, oh, I know the deadline for the festival, for the Pan African Film Festival, is closed, but I really would like my movie to be in the festival. He's like, well, let me just see, I might know somebody that can screen it, but I don't know about getting it in there. They screened it. They loved it. They called me and said, we're going to squeeze you in. I mean, like, literally, it was the week or 2 weeks or whatever before the festival, when typically you do months in advance. I got it in the festival. I didn't have the best anything. I didn't have the best sound. And this is what I mean about writers right here. I didn't have the best sound. I probably didn't have the best picture, but I knew as a director what I wanted for my actors, and I drilled them to get it. And I had a phenomenal script. So I knew how important marketing played a part of what I was doing. So it was the NBA All-Star Weekend in Atlanta, Georgia. I had some things going on here with some relatives, and my cousin was playing ball, and I had committed to some stuff, but I made it in that festival. So what I did was I paid all my girlfriends who I had modeled with, had gotten T-shirts, baby tees with the name of my movie on it, sent them all, the ones that lived in LA, sent them all to the festival before, because my movie was screening like the fourth day or whatever. And then they had a brunch for the at the Directors Guild for all of the directors. So I was like, I won't make it until the Sunday brunch, but Saturday they had all those parties, and everybody's going to be there. So I had all the guys who were good looking and hot in my movie, put them out there in their T-shirts with my movie name. Had all the girls Cut Me a New Path, and filmed by Deidre Thomas. Had everybody there. When I arrived on Sunday at the brunch at the Directors Guild, I literally flew in, got my rental car, raced to the Directors Guild. Everybody's in there. You got all the people from the guild, from the union there talking. And I raced in. I get to my seat, and somebody stands up and says, "I want to know, who is Deidre Thomas?" And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God, I'm late. I'm so embarrassed. Maybe they did a roll call earlier. I'm so embarrassed. John Singleton was in there, and he stood up and said, "I do too." And so I stood up. I said, "I'm sorry. I'm late. I came in from Atlanta. I had preview." They said, "No, no, 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 no. We just wanted to know who you were, and we're going to come in to screen your movie because you had a presence here. You were nowhere to be found, but I had like I said, I had all the girls in the T-shirts, all the guys in the T-shirts, and they were passing out the screening time for my movie because I had it on the postcards. And so everybody was like, so it was packed. My movie was packed. I was like so nervous and so afraid. But I say this to say, I said that to say, believe in yourself, even if nobody else does. It is a must that you write a good script, because Denzel Washington and Halle Berry, or I'll say a Viola Davis or whomever, can't make a great movie out of a shitty script, pretty much. So I don't care how. And that's what I knew I had. I knew I had a great story. I knew if the sound went out, or if I didn't have the right boom person, if I didn't have this, I knew that I had an excellent story. I was telling a great story. And so as a writer, that I found the most gratification in knowing that I had a great story. So I said that to say, one, write spec scripts, because you never know when you're going to get an opportunity to present it to one of the studios. Two, always write with your passion, not always, but also write what you're passionate about, and what you have knowledge of. And when you don't have knowledge of it, research it. And then and I learned this too when I was at the Hollywood Film Institute. They said, when you are doing a picture and you think that you're going to finance it yourself, make it as simplistic as possible, not poorly written or bad. Just make it simple. Don't shoot a script where a person is jumping off a building and doing a chase, in the middle of, I don't know what street y'all on, but what city you're in, but Tryon and up to this and that, and at the Charlotte, where the Charlotte Panthers play. Don't do that, because chances are you're not going to be able to get that. Write a quality story. The setting is in a home. My poor home in Atlanta, it's been in 3 of my movies. That home is said, I've changed it, I've had it painted, I've had new curtains. When I started out, my home did everything for me. And let me just tell you this about always. One thing I do is I always pay my actors. And if I can't pay them, I won't say that, because I always pay them, even if it's a little bit of money. But I always feed them well. If you feed people, they'll do a lot for you. If they're sitting there starving and you give them a bag of chips, they're gonna be like, I'm just not. It's gonna happen. And you never know who you never know what star you are going to make or what star is going to cross your path. So I treat everybody with respect. I treat and I try to um, be as kind and as um, flexible, but to a certain degree when I'm working with actors on a set. One person that started in my second movie after that cut me a new path and it did well, and I got distribution. This company, and at the time it was right after Blockbusters was ended, but they were like, we want to do streaming, we want to do this, we want to do that. I got a distribution deal on a film that I shot myself, hanging with my friends, touring, believing, bumping into a guy that said, probably can, put it in, get somebody to look at it, getting it there, creating a presence. John Singleton saying, yeah, you got a presence. I got to see this film. Everybody telling me it's a good story. I knew it was a good story, although I knew that, like I said, I had some sound issues. Oh, here's the coup de grace. Here is the coup de grace. So I went the year before. I went to the Cancun. It was called Cancun Black Film Festival then. Now it's called the American Black Film Festival after 9/11, and everybody was like, oh no, we're not going out of the country. So I went there. I had written my first movie. Went up to Chuck D from Public Enemy and said, I need somebody to narrate my movie. I don't have any money. I need it narrated. I need a strong voice. As soon as people hear it, it's going to be recognizable, blah, blah, blah. He was like, I said, I live in Atlanta. He was like, let me give you my number. He gave me his number. Him and his wife live here in Atlanta. I called him up. I said, please, I don't have a lot of money. Tell me what I could do. He said, you assist. I love what the movie's about. It's about three guys from Detroit growing up together as best friends. They've each taken different paths in life. But he said, I love what the movie's about. Tell me what you want me to do. I picked one of his songs. I said, I love all the words of this. Between each act, I want you to narrate these words. And he called me. He said, I got my boy who scored He Got Game and Malcolm X. I'm going to have you come to the studio. Kerwin, he was one of the composers on that. Come to the studio. We're going to knock it out, and don't worry about it. It's all love. He narrated my movie, and he told Kerwin, he said, I want you to score this movie for my sister. The score is stellar. I mean, he scored He Got Game and Malcolm X. He was like, so don't be afraid to ask people for, and I used to have a very difficult time doing this, to ask people for a favor. Hey, I got a great script. I would love for you to read it. Most people are going to say no. I'm going to say no because legally I shouldn't be reading it. But if you're talking to my housekeeper or my secretary, they're going to read it. And those are the people that you're closest to, that I'm closest to, that I trust. I trust people in my home. So if you meet my sister somewhere and she says, Deirdre, oh my God, the piece was so phenomenal, I'm going to read it because I trust them. Don't always think you got to get to the person. I mean, you see how 6 degrees of separation got my movie, where it ended up. So so one, believe in yourself, invest in yourself, and don't be afraid to ask people for help. You'd be surprised. The one young lady that played in my second movie, Living with Faith, the one girl was she was on Oprah. She started her own magazine company called Black Girl Magazine. I was like, okay, I want her to play Faith. It was like a black version of Girl Interrupted. It was about 5 girls who grew up together in a group home. They had to go in a group home because of dysfunctional family, whatever.
So hold on 1 second. Deidre, hold on 1 second, because I'm going to forget my points because you're going to the next story. Two things she said. Two things she said what you guys talk about. One is when she went to the festival. So when you come to a festival, how she marketed herself by having individuals wear the T-shirt to her film. And she wasn't even there, but they made the presence known. Now, at this year's festival, because we're having an outside-inside activity, imagine people on the outside in that festival, on the boardwalk at the lake with your shirt on. People who are not even part of the festival, who's going to the restaurant, will see your movie. Think about who will see your movie that particular time. So I think that is a great, great idea with that. And I think the other thing you said that was very interesting was the fact that I think, one of the things, activity breeds activity. That's what I want to talk about. So if you do nothing, don't expect nothing in return. But because she was creating activity, it seems like things started happening. Chuck D, he got someone else to. Activity breeds activity, right? If you're pushing and you're working in that place, then activity will breed activity. Stuff will come to you, stuff will happen, like your activity coming here today. invest in yourself today. Activity begins to breed activity, which is kind of what she did. And then that thing just like took off with that movie there, both those things. So I love the promotion on the film festival side. And I love the fact that, the activity, like you're saying, writers should always be writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
should always be, you always come up with something that you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we don't do is partner enough with writers and the production team coming together to create stuff on the independent level, right? Because normally the filmmaker is also the writer, right? Or they have a writing team that you mentioned,
right.
And the writer, the editor, and all, you're doing everything, right? And so, so which is really, really good. Okay, now go ahead.
It's important. No, that's very important. I think that, and don't be afraid to ask people. That was one of my biggest things. I was like, I don't want people to tell me no, and that stifled my growth, I think, for a long time. Because here's the thing. Most people who are decent people are going to hear you out unless they're, racing to go somewhere. Be real, be considerate rather of their time and where you're trying to have a conversation with them. Most people will hear you out and most people will listen. Okay. And they'll, okay, let's do it. Or they'll give you advice, but the person that's rude and disrespectful, you don't want to work with them anyway. If they're rude or ugly, you'd be like, oh, I didn't. He was a mess, and I would never want to work with him anyway. So you did yourself a favor. So don't be afraid to ask people, because people want to help, because we've all been there.
We're online as well, so we have questions coming in online. And raise your hand in the room if you have a question. Raise your hand. Let me see anybody have a question. Raise your hand. But this first question is from Ken Gregory, who's online. He said, as an indie filmmaker, I would love your advice for getting a named actor for his project.
Hi, Ken. So that's a good question, Ken. It's a really good question. And let me tell you again, I used to not subscribe to just opening your mouth and asking, but then my fourth movie, I decided, my third movie or my fourth movie, Shake. So I was like, I'd love for Clifton Powell to play this crazy father of the lead character. I don't know how I'm going to get to Clifton Powell. So I called. She was my she wasn't my first AD at the time. I think she might have been my unit. Well, anyway, I called her and I said, hey. She said, she said, you know what? Clifton just did something with a friend of mine. She says, I think I can reach out to him. She reached out to him. Clifton said, send me the script. So I sent him the script. He called. He said, I love this script. He said, you wrote it? I said, yeah. He said, are you sure a guy didn't write it? I said, no, I wrote the script. He said, the part that's for a guy sounds like a guy, like something the dude would say something, like he was cursing because he cursed every other word. So I mean, you said, I said, okay. And so he agreed. Then at the time, I was dating a guy who was in business with another guy who was dating. He was engaged to Crystal from Players Club, Ronnie, the one, the light one with the blonde hair. I wanted her to play a part. I said, I called my guy. That was much easier. So I just called my guy at the time. I said, hey, call your boy. Call Crystal. Crystal called me. She said, I'll do it. Yeah, she told me what it would cost. I'll do it. So to answer your question, I hate going through, and I have so much respect for them, but I hate going through, speak to my manager, speak to and Clifton did that a little bit with the manager thing, but then he, and I get it. You have to have representation because you want to make sure you're going to get your money. They're going to they're like, I don't know who you are. My manager's going to vet you and make sure that you're going to pay me. And I'm telling you, the best way to answer your question, Ken, the best way, in my opinion, to get a celebrity or an actor or named actor to be in your movie is to go to a festival. Just like I was just telling Tommy 2 nights ago, I said, Tommy, I never watched that movie, that television series, The Family Business. I said, oh my God. It was really good. I didn't watch it on BET, but I watched the first season on Netflix. It was good. Darren's in it. Darren and I spoke at Tommy's festival in the panel, chatted it up a little bit. The director of Black Coffee, Mark Harris. Mark was like, oh, I got to go to LA. Can I stay at your place in LA? Mark stayed at my place in LA. You just build these alliances. You got to be at the festivals because that's where people like Tommy have spent their time, energy, and money to bring in notable people for you to talk to. So that's why you need to be at the festivals so that you can have a discussion with these people. And if you, one thing I've learned is that actors want to work, and if you give them something good, they are going to work. They're going to make it work with their with their management and their agents and all of that. I didn't even deal with Clifton's agent. I dealt with his manager, gave him his down payment before he came, knew what he wanted, the parameters. Again, like I said, people want to eat, they want per diem, they want to be put up in a nice place. They might not hit you over the head for the amount, like Chuck D. After I met Chuck D in Acapulco, we met in Atlanta once more, went to lunch. I said, let me pay for your lunch. He's, oh no. I said, please, I have to. He didn't charge me anything because people, if you have something that's good and you come to people genuine and sincere, Chuck D, I mean, he threw me a solid. And Kerwin scored it when he, makes God only knows hundreds of thousands of dollars every time he scores anything. So he scored it for me, and it was beautiful. And we all know that the music, the score is the heartbeat of the movie, and he did that on the string. But I said that again. Don't be afraid to ask people. Don't be afraid to get to people. I will also tell you my biggest nugget, and I'm going to say this: the biggest nugget is again with that second movie that I did, Living with Faith. I got the little girl who's in Black Girl Magic. My star who stole the movie just won a Tony Award last year. She sang and tore down the house at the Tonys. I was in tears, and then me and her went out the other day when she was in town. Well, we went to she performed at our art center here. Jakina Kalakanda is her name, and I knew that girl had talent. I saw her. I said, "This little girl." There she was, 16, playing the little girl in my movie, and there she was singing on the Tony Award stage. So again, you never know who you're going to assist in making a star, and she's the most humble, beautiful
in the
person
movie.
there is.
And the TV show she's talking about was Family Business. Anybody seen Family Business?
The family,
So
the family.
Darren Henson is the son. So he's been on a festival twice. He did an acting class at the festival that had everybody come out of that class crying. He did an acting session Jackie, was you part of that? Darren Henson, when he did that. Donna, you remember that? You was there? Oh, everybody came out. You came out crying. Everybody came out the room crying. Huh? Yes. Okay, so she asked, as a writer, how does she protect her work?
Didn't you? What's her name? Who just asked that?
Aquia.
Hi,
Yes.
Aquia. So I'm going to speak on both sides of the coin as it relates to this, right? I just said that I cried and stayed in bed for 3 days when my movie was stolen. Um, uh, and I say that loosely. I say there were so many similarities, and maybe it wasn't stolen because people, I will give more than one person is thinking about a story at more than one time, or at one time rather, right? So you copyright your stuff, which is what I have, and which is what I do. And so, but not you cannot double negative allow people to read your stuff, because if you don't, it will never get out there, right? So I used to be like, I don't want my stuff stolen. Oh my God, they're gonna steal it. Honey, please steal it. Let me get those coins. Because what a judge is going to do is he's going to whip your script out and whip their script out, and they're going to go line for line. And if a certain percentage of your script matches their script, you're going to get paid, especially if you've already copyrighted the script. So, but don't walk around, oh, I'm not going to show my script because I think it's going to be stolen. Just copyright your script. And it when you copyright it, it dates it, and you will know they will know when the story was created based on your copyright. And people always say,
And
"Oh, use
also,
the poor man copyright. Mail it to yourself." Back in the day, they used to be like, "Mail it to yourself and don't open it. That's the poor man copyright." Well, you can do that if you want. I mean, and never open it. FedEx it to yourself and never open it. That says that's the day you created it, but just go ahead and copyright it. Put
and,
together some coins and copyright
and
it.
what about the NDA for those who want to read it? Do you recommend having the NDA for those who want to read your script, or those you might be looking to partner with?
I do. I always make people sign an NDA, but I don't even know if it's ever if it's meant anything to me. I've signed NDAs and I've had people sign NDAs. And when there's an actor, I usually don't worry about. I mean, the actors, I still haven't signed it, but I don't worry about it, being stolen from them, or
Right.
I don't really worry about it. I think you should have people sign an NDA just as a backup or precaution, but I don't. The bottom line is at the end of the day, um, people can say, "Oh, I was thinking the same thing."
Right.
It's get yours out, and then you don't have to worry about it. Get it out, and then you don't have to worry about somebody stealing it.
And there's nothing new under the sun. So the
No.
Library of Congress, you definitely want to get a copy written, get it there. Like the project I just did for National Park Services, they paid me to shoot it, but I licensed it back to them.
Mhm.
So I licensed it back to them, and then I got a copy written. See, so it really kind of, huh? $60, $63.
Yeah, it's really cheap. Like, yeah, the copyright is like 60 something bucks. Or you can go to the Creators Vault, VAULT,
Yeah.
Creators Vault. And when I send everything there first. And so you can get 1 year for 14 bucks or 2 years for 39 bucks. As I'm writing versions of it, I just update it. I put it right to the vault before I copyright. So that's another way of covering your butt. It'll be in the Creators Vault.
You next, they'll come back to you. I usually mention your name and then next to it.
My name is Antonio. I usually do an NDA just because I don't want the actor.
We need to get a picture. You guys get ready to leave? Yeah. Let's get a picture real quick. I want to get a group picture before we leave. Oh, that's fine. We're gonna get a group picture real quick, Deidre, because I want to get everybody before they leave. If we can stand, what's the place down? Stand right there against that wall, or huh? No, back there. Yeah, we do a quick picture. Everybody stand right there real quick. We're gonna take five. We're gonna take a quick picture before they leave.
All right.
Take five. Now we're gonna do all the power people. But we got that pole right there, right? So I think we have to come to this corner. More over here. More over to that corner. Yes. No, we want you in there. We want you in there. Yeah, I'm gonna have
Keep going. Are you waiting on me?
All right, come back around some more, down to right to the end of the building right here.
I do not sit on my
Yeah, right here.
things.
So can you guys come over some more?
That's all right. I gotta wash all the clothes that we used to. That's my pajamas, she said.
There you go.
What were you thinking?
You guys come over some more. You go right behind. There.
Oh, yeah.
You right there. Right here.
You got it. Thank you.
Let's see here. Let's get this is not real long over this side.
Yeah, and I'll give her the liquid one.
I guess I'm gonna be the one who have to do the jail pose.
She don't want
Everybody there? Everybody smile? You understand, man? Just power up. I love point the sky. Where our strength comes from.
Want to do my bedroom tomorrow.
Last one, last one. Now, swag. I don't know how y'all swag out. I got no different swag. See how y'all swag? I was just swag out. Swag out. Oh, somebody said they next. Okay. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, our next meetup will be next month for the holiday affair. We do have this movie that one of our filmmakers made, a Christmas movie. We might do that as part of it, which would be cool at the theater. So, but we got your email address. Can we read all those emails? Make sure we can read all the emails. And okay, good.
Y'all are back?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay. No, I choose the one I want. Okay.
Yeah, swag is funny. That's good. That's good. You can read it. Good.
Hey, Tommy.
Yes. Okay, good, good. All right. Does anybody need anybody information before they leave? Okay, good, good. All right, guys, we're starting back. We're starting back. We're starting back. All right, brother. All right, take care. Y'all take care. And so, and so, any other questions in the room? We have another question. Yes, go ahead. Did you get your question answered?
I think we stopped in the middle of somebody's question.
Right, we sure did. You were asking your question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
I used to do an NDA for make sure that the actors in the group don't mention much about the movie to the outside world, except for maybe the media spouse or something. And then afterwards, they can say whatever they want at the movie screen. Is that something that you did for your film? You know, you were talking about you were more concerned on the copyright portion of the NDA.
Tommy, you're gonna have to repeat it because I can't hear.
He said he normally has actors do NDAs because he doesn't want them to share about the movie until, of course, it's ready to be promoted. Unless they can share, of course, with their wives, spouse, whatever, like this. So he said, do you normally do an NDA with your actors based upon that, or you just don't do anything with the actors at all?
I definitely do. Yeah, I'm very, and then while I'm trying to figure out who I'd like to use, I don't ever give them the total script. Like if I've decided that I'm going to use this person definitively, then I do the whole NDA and I ask them not to share it and I give them the script. But if I am just kind of looking, still looking for people, I'll give them sides, and kind of give them a vague overview and still have them sign an NDA. But I wouldn't recommend just giving people that you don't know for sure that you want to use your entire anything. I just don't.
Good.
Did that answer his question?
Yes.
My name is Robert Rankin. What is your stance on doing a copyright if you've already registered your work with the Writers Guild Association? So I've registered a lot of my work with the Writers Guild Association, and I was recently told after I finished my last project that I still needed to do a copyright even if it was registered with the Writers Guild. But I have been given two different.
Story.
I've been given two different stories. I had somebody from Hollywood say, "Well, no, once you register with the Writers Guild and they try to use it, it's protected." And then I had somebody, an attorney from New York, say, "No, you should always copyright it, regardless of who's registered." So I just want to get another take on that position.
You know how they say more is less, and I say more is best. And the reason I say that is because I am in the middle of the lawsuit with a pretty big network who I feel or felt like they stole a project of mine that I submitted to them. We went through back and forth. They loved the project. They loved the idea. You know, oh, da da da. We trying to get it on our Saturday, Friday night, whatever night lineup. And then they pulled off the project and said we just can't fit it in our on our roster right now. 2 years later, the project is on with the same name with different people. And so my attorney, who is, Kendall Minter, he's one of the top, he's a dog in this industry. He said, please send me your, the copyright forms, your this, your that, your this, your that. And I was like, good Lord. At the time, I had only registered it with the Creators Vault, and I didn't register the Writers Guild. I don't think I did, but I registered with the Creators Vault. He said to me, I mean, that's good, but I need you to copyright it right now. So even though I had the years on that, he said, just because you want to when you're going into a lawsuit with the big dogs, I mean, you really need to just be as prepared as possible. I mean, are you, trying to get it are you copywriting it because you're, afraid that an actor is going to steal it, or what? Anytime you get in litigation, and I'm going to first answer your question by saying I would. Now I copyright. Hold up, my phone is trying to die. I copyright everything because you never know. Like I said, they're going to go line for line. And basically what they're telling me is that somebody else was thinking of the same idea at the same time as I was. And so I'm like, no, and not come to your network, they didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, no, that's the chances of that. So I'm in this crazy lawsuit. My phone is dying. Let me plug it in. But hold up. Okay. So I'm in this lawsuit, but what can you do? So I say cover yourself as best you can. Trust me, if you have registered it and somebody steals it, you're good. But to answer your question, it doesn't hurt anything to copyright it. Why would you not copyright it? Is it because of the money?
Yeah, that would have been that was the only question. I always, even when I submitted to the Writers Guild, I still copyright it. But my take was, am I paying for double coverage for no reason? If the Writers Guild is good enough, then why am I turning around and paying to register with the Writers Guild and then spending $60 to register for copyright if one or the other is good? But I understand what you're saying. Having them both is the best.
Yeah, I think she said she plugged it up. Good. Anybody else have questions? Okay, yeah. Yours is up next. So we were going to do this activity, this creative activity, but I see it's 6:15, so we probably won't get to that. But just want to see if you guys got questions, and I was waiting for it to come back on. And also tell me, you guys been here for a little while. Tell me, what is it how can we best serve you? Let me ask you this. How can we best serve you?
Okay, you can hear me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so my thing is this: you've spent a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, creating 4 years, creating a project. Why would you not protect it? You know what I'm saying? That's like that's like bringing your baby home from the hospital and saying, "Well, I got airbags, so I'm not gonna put the seatbelt on." Okay, let's hope that you don't have a really bad accident and she doesn't go flying through the window. Just secure yourself as much as possible. It's your baby. Am I frozen?
No. So
Oh,
we got a question popped up. As an actress, when somebody previously auditions for one of your movies, what background should they not use as a background color?
you mean if they're coming in person or are they doing it via Zoom?
What, Jackie?
The online audition. They're doing an audition. And they're doing it.
Yeah, I'm saying in person.
Online. No, online. There's community
Oh, okay.
access.
White.
They should not use white.
I mean, it's to the discretion of the person who's watching. But for me, what I'll tell you this: you can use any color, including white, as long as you don't have a whole bunch of crap going on in the background.
Okay.
Keep it as simple as possible because you don't want to be distracted. I have this one movie. I have this. Oh my God, I'm doing this one movie and I'll tell you one of the people it kind of involves. And it's, let's just say, you know, just so you guys can kind of get the gist of who it is. It involves the Prince character, the prince that we know as, in the Revolution, Prince the singer. And this person was auditioning. Oh, I'm telling you, it was like the spitting image of Prince. But Lord have mercy. I was like, are you in your kitchen? Is that like a refrigerator and a microwave going off in it? I was like, Lord, child, like I can't even concentrate on you talking because it's all these little curtains and stuff in the background and the microwave. I was like, Lord, why? So just try not to have anything that's distracting the person because you want the focal point to be you.
Good.
So if it's white background, black, right, and on the other side, one of the other guys that auditioned for the same character had a white background, and he was in Belize. He was somewhere out of the country with his family, and he was in a hotel, and it was choppy and broken up, and he kept the background was white, but he was a beast. I could see it. I could see it in his acting. I was so focused on him. He didn't have all these other distractions. It was just white. But even with the poor signal or whatever from the Zoom, I could still see his his talent, and that's what you want people to see, not the cat jumping across the counter in the kitchen.
Gotcha. All right. Real quick, here's another one by Ken. Switching gears, what has been your experience with getting funding for your project besides self-funding?
That's a very good question. Who's that, Ken?
Yes.
Ken again? Ken again? The same Ken? Hey, Ken. Hey, Ken. So, okay. My first project, as I stated, I funded with a little bit of help, but primarily I funded myself, right? So my second project, interesting. I had to think about that. The second project, which was Living with Faith, I ended up, so I ended up having a few people, like corporate funders. So I had shot some stuff for some different law firms and stuff here in Atlanta. I had also spoken with this place that's now has since gone out of business. I can see it. Not Carolinas. It starts with a C. They were a big post house here in Atlanta, and the main guy that was in charge of the 25 editors that they had, and they only had one black editor, a black female, and they only had one female and one black. And so, but he was a black guy who was in charge of just the production of everything. He came in. I started telling him about my story, and he said, "I want to invest in it." So, long and short is, he invested in it. Then I had a few attorneys, and again, you could get people to invest in your project smaller amounts. You know what I'm saying? A lot of smaller amounts depending on what the budget is. That's the second movie. The third movie, I went all out. I had Michael Vick investing. I had, my nephews were playing pro ball at the time. I had, I was like, all right, let's do it. I got it now. I got the money. Then Michael Vick gets arrested with the dogs and everything else. I was like, good Lord have mercy. And so he's gone filed bankruptcy. And the feds are like, we want to know everything that you have coming in, every piece of investment, every this, every that. So I had to have my other investors buy out his part. So I had a businessman who was a business mogul who owned a, investment, a real estate investment company. I had my nephew invest in it. I had okay, and so the same lady used to manage Michael Vick. She managed a whole bunch of an Asian woman and managed a whole bunch of athletes. By luck, I can't even remember who introduced me to her. We were just kind of talking, kind of matter of fact, and she was like, "Okay, not only am I going to let Michael invest in it, I'm going to let these two other athletes invest in it, who were brothers who both played football at the same time." So I had them, I had Vic, I had my nephew, and I had the real estate investment guy. And so, um, again, people just have to believe in the project. I was lucky enough to have my nephew be playing pro ball, which kind of opened the doors to, to things for me to get some money, some larger amounts of money. And that title, I still make money off that title. Like they still, it's on. I mean, again, it's on Amazon Prime or Tubi or one of them. I don't know. I just know we get a check and they still get money off of it.
Good.
So
Well,
don't be afraid to ask people.
Yeah. So no, it's at 7. It's at 7. Yeah, it's at 7. All right. Well, good. Well, we appreciate you coming. We got this room to 6:30, but just appreciate you coming and sharing. And once
Absolutely.
again, tell them real quick before they leave. Talk about our pitch competition. Talk about how much money was at the table to hear pitches at this year's Charlotte Black Fund. How much was available in terms of funding projects?
Well, you mean as far as them, from our perspective, as
Yeah.
people who were looking for the projects, oh, it was. I mean, it's really endless.
No, but how
And I
much was
say
there
that,
at the table between you and the other gentleman? How much could he
Mr. Green.
greenlight a project for?
Oh, yeah. So he can green like anything 3 million and higher. He can pretty much say yay or nay to it. But he doesn't. I was coming in the way I met him. I was coming in with little projects, and he's like, "No, I really prefer 10 million. I really do. We do 10 million or more." And I was kind of scared when he said that, but we have to, as African Americans especially, stop thinking that we, don't need money for projects to make them big. And the money's out there. My friend Brian, that's who he's talking about, and Brian can greenlight a project. Brian had he had a 10 picture deal, I think it was, with HBO or Warner. HBO, because they're a subsidiary of Warner. A 10 picture, $150 million deal going. But he can green light, at 3 million.
So it's good. But I just wanted to hear that. And I think he said he's coming back again for the pitch. You guys are coming back for the pitch me again in 2024.
Yeah, we'll be back next year. Mm-hmm.
Good. Awesome. I'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, great. Well, we appreciate you, my sister, for coming in, talking to
It's
everybody.
always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, you all. Thank you all.
Send your picture of the room, and you take care. And we're talking. I won't tell them about the project we're trying to work on to get on Hulu, but
Right.
yeah, we're trying to do some other things too as well. But appreciate you.
And I really, you guys, again, Tommy knows that if you have any other questions, channel them through Tommy. I'm more than willing to help you in any way possible that I can. Keep pushing, keep thriving, keep striving, because you're already doing what's right, because you're here. You're trying to get information, you're trying to learn, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And again, I'm here if you need me.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
All right. Okay.